Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a catastrophe that honestly feels like it shouldn't have been possible. It brings up a really scary question about the systems we all trust to keep us safe when we fly.
349. That's not just a number. That's the number of people who lost their lives on November 12, 1996, in the skies over India. To this day, it's still the deadliest mid-air collision in history.
And this is the part that just boggles the mind. How could two massive jets, guided by air traffic control, just collide in a huge open sky? They had a single controller watching them, and they were supposed to have 1,000 feet of space between them. And yet, they didn't. So what happened? How did a totally standard flight procedure go so catastrophically wrong? Let's get into it.
All right, so let's set the scene here, because this whole thing is a tragic paradox. We're talking about a clear evening sky, the perfect setup for two completely normal, uneventful flights.
Okay, so you've got two planes. One, a Saudi Arabian Boeing 747, had just taken off from Delhi and was climbing up. At the exact same time, a Kazakhstan Airlines cargo jet was coming down to land at that same airport. They were on the same invisible highway in the sky, just heading in opposite directions. By the book, they should have passed each other with plenty of room to spare, but obviously, they didn't.
So, to really get what went wrong here, we have to talk about how our skies are kept safe in the first place. You know, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. There can be more than 15,000 planes in the air at any one time. The system that manages all that has to be rock solid.
Yeah, the sky isn't just this big, empty void. It's actually crisscrossed with these invisible highways. They're called airways. And just like the roads we drive on, they have rules to keep everything flowing smoothly and safely. And the ones directing all this traffic? That's air traffic control.
One of the most basic, but also most important rules of the sky is altitude separation. It's a pretty simple idea, really. If you're flying east, you're usually at an odd altitude, say 35,000 feet. If you're flying west, you're at an even one, like 36,000 feet. Right there, you've automatically created a 1,000-foot buffer between planes going in opposite directions. It's brilliant.
Okay, so let's talk about the two planes at the heart of this. They came from different places, were going to different places. Their stories couldn't be more different, but their paths were about to intersect at one very specific point in the sky.
So, on one hand, you have Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907. It's a big Ilyushin cargo plane, carrying merchants on their way to India. And then you have Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight 763, a huge Boeing 747, packed with mostly Indian workers heading to jobs in Saudi Arabia. Two totally different aircraft, carrying people with different dreams, all set to meet over a single navigation point called Lumka, just west of Delhi.
You know, things in the air happen fast. In just 6 minutes, everything went from perfectly normal to absolute disaster. The Saudi jet gets cleared to climb to 14,000 feet. The Kazakh jet is told to descend to 15,000 feet. They're on the same airway, flying right at each other. But with that crucial 1,000-foot safety buffer, everything should have been fine.
And this is the last and most critical message from the air traffic controller. He tells the Kazakh plane, identified traffic 12 o'clock reciprocal. Now that's just aviation talk for, hey, there's a plane straight ahead of you coming your way. He even tells them it's the Saudi 747, 10 miles out. He's painting a perfect picture for them. The system is doing exactly what it's designed to do.
So, the warning is out there. The pilots have been told what's happening. And yet, something goes terribly, terribly wrong. What happened in those final moments?
It happened in a flash. The left wing of the Kazakh plane sliced right through the left wing of the massive Saudi 747. The 747, it just broke apart, falling from the sky in a fireball. The Kazakh plane was also doomed, entering a flat spin. Both jets basically disintegrated, and the wreckage fell over the villages below. No one survived.
When the investigators started digging, they realized it wasn't just one thing. It never is. It was a whole chain of failures, each one lining up perfectly to create a disaster. And here's the absolute heart of it. The Kazakh crew radioed that they were at their assigned altitude of 15,000 feet, but the black box told a different story. They were still descending, right through their assigned altitude and into the path of the other plane.
And the why is just heartbreaking. The Kazakh pilots didn't speak English, which is the official language of aviation. They had a radio operator on board to translate everything for them, from English into Russian. So when that final urgent warning came from the controller, the radio operator didn't quite get it at first. He had to ask for a repeat. By the time he understood and translated it for the pilot, it was just too late. Those crucial seconds were lost in translation.
As awful as this was, something had to come from it. This disaster really lit a fire under the aviation industry to make sure nothing like it could ever happen again. It led to some of the biggest safety upgrades we've ever seen.
The first big one is something called TCAS. You can think of it like an electronic guardian angel in the cockpit. The system actually lets planes talk to each other. If they get too close, TCAS doesn't wait for a human, it yells commands directly at the pilots, climb, climb, or descend, descend, and it tells them exactly what to do to avoid hitting each other.
Remember how the controller couldn't see the plane's altitudes? That was a huge problem. The radar back then was basically a 2D map. This crash forced airports everywhere, including Delhi, to upgrade to what's called secondary surveillance radar. This new tech gives controllers that crucial third dimension, altitude. Now, they can see on their screen in real time if a plane is not where it's supposed to be.
And finally, to fix that fatal communication gap, a new rule was put in place across the globe. If you're flying an international route, you have to be proficient in English, period. No more translators, no more delays. Everyone has to be speaking the same language.
So the legacy of this terrible crash is that our skies are without a doubt much safer today. TCAS, better radar, a common language, these changes have almost certainly prevented disasters we'll never even know about. But it leaves you with this one nagging question, doesn't it? We can make the tech better, we can make the rules better, but as long as there are people in the cockpit and people in the control tower, can we ever truly eliminate the risk of human error?